The kind of revolution that the world needs is a Christian revolution.
If you want a miracle, you've got to expect it to happen.
You are the recipients of God's grace and God's blessings, and you rejoice in that reality.
Welcome to Life Today Live. I'm excited about today's program. I grew up watching Sunday evenings, I think it was 6 o'clock, The Wonderful World of Disney. And of course, I grew up with all the Disney movies, and I had the record albums, and my kids, I had the DVDs, I had VHSs. I mean, Disney, my wife grew up real close to Disney World in Florida and used to go there all the time. I mean, Disney has been this thing, right? And if you're like me, the last few years have really been both depressing and infuriating. And it's not just them. My son, my older son was a huge Blues Clues fan. And you see all these programs that you love as a child, that your children love, your grandkids love, and the direction they're going, and you're like, it's enough to make a Christian want to curse, You're just like, what the heck is going on? I'll use my Christian curse word there. Well, it's not enough to curse the darkness. We have to light a light. And so I'm a Daily Wire subscriber. Andrew Klavan's been on Life Today Live. And when I heard that they were launching this thing for children, I thought, thank God, we could finally get some sanity back into our children's programming. Well, that thing is called Bentkey, and I don't know what that's about, so I'm curious to find out where that comes from. And one of the programs on Bentkey, this new streaming service, is called A Wonderful Day with Mabel Maclay. And there's a little preview of it. I won't do that. You'll have to watch it for yourself, but you can watch all the stuff online right there. But I have Mabel, if you will, with me, and the creators of that program, Katy and Ryan Chase. So if you don't know about Bentkey, you stick around. You're gonna need this, and what a great Christmas gift for your kids, your grandkids, maybe yourself. So this is what we've been waiting for. Katy and Ryan, welcome to Life Today Live. Great to have you.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
So, first of all, you got to answer my question. What is Bentkey? From the moment I heard that, I thought, I don't know it, and I haven't taken the time to Google it. I'm sure I can Google it, but what does Bentkey mean?
That is a great
It's
question.
a great question. You're going to have to ask Jeremy Boring to tell the story of his Bentkey. He's founder of Daily Wire and founder of Bentkey, and he has a special story to share. But it's, I think about unlocking adventures and unlocking the imaginative world that kids love so much, a joyful world of wondering, and that's what our show is about, and I think that's the idea behind the whole platform.
Okay. Well, that'll work for me. Let's get to your program. How in the world did you get here? Have you guys done a bunch of, because I don't know a whole lot about you guys personally. Do you come from this kind of background?
Well, we worked with kids for about the last 10 to 15 years. We had a kids improv studio in Los Angeles that we opened and we ran and we taught at, and we were so lucky to be successful and have these great families. And so we didn't realize at the time, much in the way that God's always doing a thing, we didn't know that was preparing us for this in the future. And so we were actors, and we started that program working with kids, and that became our life, and we loved it. And we had a wonderful run with that. And then Bentkey came along, or Daily Wire, and said, hey, we're doing this thing. Do you have any ideas? We've known Jeremy a long time, and he said, you're kind of our kids, you're my kids gurus. And we're like, I don't know about that. He said, do you have any ideas? We said we do, and our kids, we're kind of in the same, your intro, we're in the same camp as you, where we got 3 young kids, and you don't have time to stream or to screen everything beforehand.
Yeah.
And our kids are pretty much just familiar with the classics. Our kids still think the Andy Griffith Show is on because we just show them DVDs. We never really had a TV, and so they watch Andy Griffith and Little House on the Prairie and a lot of the classics that we loved, and Mr. Rogers, of course. And so when Jeremy said, I have this idea, And as you said in the intro too, he's about making. You can't just complain and point and be critical of, oh, well, this or that. Well, now we're all just sitting around complaining and nothing's changing. And so he's very, very motivated in that area. He's a business guy, but he's really a creative in that way. And so we were thrilled to have the opportunity to make this show, and we just didn't know until now. Oh, all the things have been leading towards us to have this opportunity, and it happened. We're thrilled.
I love it. Okay, well, you have to tell me, Katy, about your character. Mabel, if I spit it out, Mabel Maclay. Tell us about her.
Mabel Maclay, yes. She's a character that was really inspired by the idea of Mr. Rogers. If he had a really fun niece or something, that would be Mabel. So she's Mr. Rogers with a dash of Mary Poppins, and she's joined by her really funny dog, Jasper. And she's a person who believes that life is wonderful and that it's worth wondering about. And so every day she kind of wonders about different objects and people and places, and that carries us through this show where she kind of celebrates a love of learning, a love of creation, and a love of creativity. She engages in creative projects in the kitchen and goes on these creative adventures. So it's a really sweet and simple show, but it also was a huge production. I mean, I got to learn to throw a football with Mike Vrabel, head coach of the Tennessee Titans, in the middle of his field. I got to learn to ice skate with Scott Hamilton, which was incredible. I got to learn to make chocolate. I got to learn to play the banjo with Ron Block from Alison Krauss's band. I mean, it was a big production, and turned out to be, we think, a really special show.
Okay, Ron's been on the program too. Great guy. So you guys are clearly in Nashville.
We are in Nashville.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we're relatively new transplants. We went from Los Angeles for 20 years to Florida, where we're both from. We happened to meet in Los Angeles. And then we came here for this opportunity. So we're relatively new to Nashville. So making the show here blew our minds that you could do that type of production here, much less the amount of skilled people, and you're looking for the highest skilled folks you can get, and it just happens to be here in Nashville. A lot of them are believers, so we were just, our socks were blessed off by how wonderful everybody was. Our crew was incredible. And
Nashville is a special mini Hollywood in that, the woman who did my makeup one day was like, I used to do Johnny Cash's makeup, and just the stories these people would tell on this Nashville crew. We were like, this is so fun. This is so up our alley. We're fans of all this stuff. So we've settled in nicely to Nashville. We're really liking it.
Yeah, I think when God delivered his people out of the world, he let them all go to Nashville. So
Something like that.
Kind of what's going on. Okay, so when you get, here's my question with kids programs, because I have 4 children. They're all in their 20s now, adults. And as a production guy all my life, I'm not just watching the children's show. I'm sitting here critiquing it, right? And I'm going, sometimes, you're like, this is terrible, but the kids love it. Other times you're like, oh, this is the best production value, but the kids are bored out of their minds. How do you figure out what actually, because obviously you guys, the production, that's going to be good, but how do you know what will capture a child's attention? To me, that's where I'm like, I don't know if I could ever do this.
Yes. Well, that's our background, working with kids and working in education for so long. We've performed with children, for children. We know exactly when their eyes start to dart and they become not engaged anymore. And our creative partner, Matt Berry, also has a big background in education. So I feel like the 3 of us were constantly bouncing ideas and keeping a very close eye on that, because we also didn't want to just make a kids show. We wanted to make one that felt really kind of grounded, paced down a bit. Mabel is a character who speaks really gently and sort of not babyish or obnoxious with her speech toward children. She uses big vocabulary words and expects kids to keep up. So we had to kind of really watch it and find that line, and a big part of that was in the scoring. We found these incredible composers that would kind of carry Mabel from room to room in our show in this beautiful, gentle way that allowed, I think, kids to have space to wonder, because Mabel wasn't staring into the camera like tap dancing for them. Come on, kids! It's not that kind of feel. So we found those special ways. Jasper is so funny, has all these really funny lines, the dog. And then we also have this segment that's a stop motion world with these little animal creatures that are made of paper and wood, and we knew that segment of the show would be great for recapturing any kiddos that we lost.
I think it's about trusting too, though, that their attention span it seems like entertainment is leaned into it's got to be flashing lights as fast as you can, quick edits, crazy loud music that the parents want to mute, and that's how you keep their attention, and you're chasing it. And we definitely err on the other side of that, where we know that there's a fine line to walk that line of pacing something down, but trusting that a kid, you don't have to wave a flashlight in front of a kid when they want to come sit with dad or grandpa and read a story in the corner, So we hoped it would be walking that line. And of course, I had Mabel drive a car that is also a boat, but we wanted to put as much fun in there as we could, and turn a penny farthing bike into a wonder wheel. You want to add that kind of stuff. So we just trust the kids' attention span doesn't have to be chased after that. You give them something good, they'll pay attention and hopefully have a good little nugget to take with them after the show's over.
I'm just glad that someone actually mentioned a penny farthing bike on my show. That's a first.
Yeah. We try to hit that word once a day, so we've met our quota as well.
So, okay, with the value kind of side of things, right? Because like we say, I think it's great to point out, you got to let people know, hey, the world's, your beloved shows are slipping things in there that now you don't want your kids seeing, right? You just don't want that in your house. But it's not enough. We got to do something. So, what are the values? Are there any that you're trying to instill, or are you trying to just go for something that is not woke, not leftist?
I think our mission there was to focus on values that are the shared values of all Americans, and those sort of timeless classic things. We hit patience and gentleness and kindness, and those values that we all agree on. And so our main focus was there. Our first episode is about creativity because that's our background, and we believe that children can be creative and can appreciate creativity. So if there's any sort of swing toward a certain direction of our taste, it's more that we believe children are curious and creative and imaginative. But we also hit a lot of values like respect and self-control. So we're kind of hitting different categories of things in terms of like behavior, social skills, being a productive member of your family. But that's the extent of the agenda. Really, we just want to stay clear of anything that we feel like we as parents want to hit first. Those topics that we don't want coming in through a TV show. We do want children's shows to kind of stay in their lane and not be bringing in anything that we haven't touched on first with our family, and made sure we hit it in the way that we want it, the language we want to use at the age of our child that we want to approach that topic and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, as a parent, it's my job to talk to my kids eventually about sex. It's not, Steve from Blue's Clues that needs to be talking to my kids about sex, right? So there's definitely some lines that have been crossed. On the flip side of this, now you guys don't brand this as like a Christian TV show, right?
Correct. It's not a faith-based show.
Okay, because some of being in the space I've been in, I've gotten things over the years, and they're just so preachy and devoid of any kind of entertainment that my kids just zoned out, and the result is that it wasn't effective. And so I'm curious, I think it's entirely possible to instill biblical values into entertaining programming without being an expository church service where you're going line by line, right?
Right. I think it was an interesting challenge for us as Christians because we would do an episode on forgiveness, and there are books involved and songs, and it was hard to write this material and talk about forgiveness with our very specific point of view without becoming a faith-based program. So it was a funny challenge for us, but we also felt like let's tee up parents to continue the conversations. So let's explore this whole concept. Let's tee them up to turn it off and extend it into their faith and their worldview and all of those deep dives. We as parents don't particularly love that stuff coming in through programming anyway, or sometimes we do, but we're picky about it.
Right.
But the idea behind Bentkey was that we're not going to be picky. This is a platform where parents can turn it on and not feel like they have to pre-screen. So it was a fun challenge for us to do that.
Yeah.
But the point you're hitting, I think, is, and I've heard Jeremy say this, and Andrew Clavin, who I also love. He's I think he's the sleeper hit here. He's at Daily Wire. He's just the best.
Oh,
I always tell him I have a love affair from afar, buddy. I mean, but I think it's the thing you were talking about is kind of the point of where you think I want to watch it rather than I want to watch it. So
Right, that's exactly. That's
that ends
very
up being
well
a
put.
lot of media, especially worldview focused media, where you think, oh man, I really want to.
And kids don't play that game.
Yeah,
they don't.
They're just as honest as can
Yes.
be about everything.
brutally honest.
Brutally honest.
So you got to make something good, and hopefully you're making it from a good place, and you just trust that you're a created being by a wonderful creator, and this little light of mine, he's going to shine, and he gave you these gifts to create this thing, and so make the best thing you can, and trust that he's laying those, he's planting those seeds, and he's doing his work, and so just do your work as the best you can, and that's what we tried to do.
Well, and so the key here is the word you just used, which is trust. But I'm saying that I don't trust the people that are making the programs that I grew up on, and
sure.
we can trust you guys.
We're trying.
Well, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's a funny sort of sad time, but it's true. I mean, when I signed my daughter up for ballet, I'm going to, if I personally don't know someone who teaches ballet, then I'm going to that website and I'm going like, who are these people, you know? And like, you do want to know, we have 3 young children, we do want to know who is with our kids and kind of what do they believe or what are they going to say? Do we share values? So it does matter. And so unfortunately, it does matter for people, I think, to see us and know who we are and what we believe.
At the same time, if you sign your child up for ballet, you're not sending them there to come home with scriptures, but you're also not sending them there to switch genders. You send them there for ballet. You know,
Correct.
it's like,
Yep.
just do the ballet. So there is a level of, look, I'm turning something on for my kids because, it's almost bedtime, or I've got to take care of this and just need to slow them down a bit. Just do what children's programming, I think, in most Americans' minds, is supposed to do, which is entertain them. Yes, entertain them so that they're not wandering, but just teach them, like you say, these kind of what we think of as traditional American values, which are rooted in Scripture. We know that, but just at kind of a base level. And it shouldn't be that hard, but it seems to be rare these days. So,
Oh yeah.
The strangest part is I think that 99% of the population, at least anybody I know, agrees with you. And that's all they want from kids' content. And so I think Bentkey will be very successful because there's just this gaping hole in the market, I think, of most parents who feel the same.
okay.
And we had a solid decade in Los Angeles where we were teaching kids in improv. And we had all these families, and you're in Los Angeles, we're in the heart of it, and probably most of those families, these are different worldviews, I'm sure, than us, and they took us in as family, even though, we're not, and we were really prepared, it seemed, for this, making this project, in that we weren't at improv class with your kid for an hour and a half, not teaching them improv and teaching them something else. We were laying the foundation of good things, like you got to be a good listener when you're being an audience member is important, being on stage. You got to be generous with your partner, that's improv and teamwork. Mm-hmm. And so these families, there was never a thing of like, hey, are Katy and Ryan, are they teaching our kids something that we don't believe, are they crazy, they probably Christians, or maybe they don't vote the way we vote. But there was never anything like that. There was just, we were in a city that was probably not aligned with our traditional worldview, but we got along well, and I think it translates into this Bentkey venture.
We take that boundary really seriously. I grew up in a family of all teachers, like old school public school teachers, and that's just a rule. You don't cross those lines with your personal worldview stuff. That just does not come into a classroom.
Yeah, and there's a time and place for everything, but at the same time, the kids, people start to know once they know you, how you do something. You can do excellence in your field and not preach, but yet preach with your actions and your attitude, right? So.
Well, yeah, I think Fred Rogers was the best example of that.
Yeah.
Just the incredible impact he had on culture and on children.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. Let's hit the details for here. So, subscription service, a wonderful day with Mabel Maclay, one of the programs on Bentkey. So, tell people who are like, okay, what is this? I'm interested. tell them what they need to do next to be able to watch this and the other programs that are on Bentkey.
Go to bentkey.com and you can sign up, and I believe you get the first episode or two of the shows for free to see if it's something that you're into. But for us, as we were saying before, it's kind of a perfect fit because you don't really have to, you don't have to screen the stuff beforehand. It's been curated, it's being made with this idea as the central focus. And our show particularly, plus the shows that they have purchased.
There's over 150 episodes of things on there. They loaded it up, so you're not clicking in just to watch our little show all alone.
But every Saturday, they have a great campaign they're doing. They're taking back or restarting Saturday morning cartoons. So every Saturday they release new episodes of all their shows. And Saturday morning cartoons, something I grew up with, and those days are long past. And so this is a real lovely thing for families to be together and watch your kids' favorite show and maybe be introduced to something else, maybe Mabel Maclay.
Yes,
and it's been great at our family. So
yeah, it seems so simple, but our family really has enjoyed that rhythm in our week now. Saturday mornings we're putting it on, the new episodes are up, so it's really sweet. And even we figured it out, and we are not into modern content or technology. So we went to bentkey.com, downloaded the app, and somehow managed to hook it up to our TV. I don't know how we figured it all out, but
it works. It works.
But it was pretty simple, and we did it.
Yeah, if you don't know how to do it, ask your kids or grandkids. They'll
That's
say
it. Yeah.
just sign up, Bentkey. Katy and Ryan, thank you for doing this. Thank you. Honestly, you did not, but thank you for preparing yourselves for such a time as this. Appreciate both of you.
That's so kind. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for having us. Thanks for saying that.
Appreciate you guys out there watching. Go do it. And even, just give it to somebody if you're not going to use it yourself, because not only will you support more great programming, such as what they're making on Bentkey, but you'll be helping to push back against the garbage out there, frankly. So, and it can be fun. Let's have fun doing this. Appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you again next time on Life Today Live.